Hi, I have a really cute book for you. It's called Mrs. McNosh and the Great Big Squash. And it was written by Sarah Weeks. She was the author. And the illustrator was Nadine Bernard Westcott. And this is a really funny book. There are lots of rhymes in this book, so I want you to see if you can hear some of those rhymes. There's already one on the front page or on the front cover. Mrs. McNosh rhymes with squash because they both end in osh. So let's see if you can hear any other rhymes in this book. Let's just enjoy the story because it's pretty funny. There is the title page. Okay, here we go. The first day of spring, Mrs. Nellie McNosh went out to her garden and planted a squash. There she is. I know we've been on our garden a bit, but I don't think we've ever experienced anything like what happens in this book. She pushed the seed in with the tip of her toe, and the minute she did it, it started to grow. The minute she did it. Is that how fast seeds start growing? The minute you put it in the earth? Look at that. She's like, what? How is that growing that fast? At first, it was round and as big as a head. In fact, it looked just like the paperboy Fred. And look at that. It sure does. Look at, there is the squash. And his face looks just like the paperboy. That is funny. Then it turned yellow and bumpy and fat. It rolled from the garden and flattened the cat. Oh my gosh, look at that poor cat. You can just hear it going, meow. Well, it's squished from that big, huge squash. Poor kitty cat. It knocked over trash cans and ran over toes. It twisted the sprinkler and plugged up the hose. Oh my gosh, look at that huge squash. It crashed through the clothesline and smashed through the fence, scaring the pants of two elderly gents. Look at this. There they are, jumping out of their pants because they're so scared by the squash. I think I might jump out of my pants if I saw a squash like that. That's so funny. Everybody is just so scared. Oh, there's that cat that was just squished. Looks like it knocked over these trash cans. Looks like maybe her toe got run over. Everyone's screaming. And those poor guys jumping out of their pants. They are scared by the squash. Poor Nellie was worried. She said, oh my gosh, there's got to be some way to slow down this squash. She slapped it and scolded it, pinched it and kicked it. And then she took hold of its stem and she picked it. Oh my gosh, she must have had to pull very hard for that stem to be picked. Because that was one tough squash. Whoa. Now what do I do, wondered Mrs. McNosh. I've got to find something to do with this squash. There isn't a place in the world it will fit. It's as big as a house. Wait, said Nellie. That's it. What do you think she's going to do? The squash is as big as a house. And that's what gives her an idea. And so, by the light of a big yellow moon, she scooped and she scraped with a long-handled spoon. And when the sun rose, where was Mrs. McNosh? I think you've done this with a pumpkin before, right? But it wasn't nearly as big. So, again, when the sun rose, where was Mrs. McNosh? Curled up sound asleep. In her big yellow squash. How cute is that? What else can you do with a squash that is that big? You have to make a house out of it. There's kind of no other choice. Oh, that was so fun. That was Mrs. McNosh and the Great Big Squash. Did you hear lots of rhymes in this book? There are a lot of rhymes in this book. See if you can listen to it again and maybe just write down some of the rhymes that you heard. So if I think back, remember when it ran over toes and plugged up the hose? Toes rhymes with hose because they both end in O's. So maybe you can write some rhymes down. That would be fun. And also, it would be really fun to draw a really big squash like this and maybe put yourself inside of it. Maybe you have your own story for this big yellow squash. Would you make a house out of it? What would you do with a big squash like this? Maybe you can write a story about it. I'd love to hear it. Bye.